Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome back. I'm Will Dragon and this is Suzerain. We are the president of Swordland and we are trying so hard to simply get ourselves out of debt at this point. We have a minus 16 government budget and well, hopefully we can turn that around. I've been trying for a while but there's not really been any opportunities. I think the country, however, in terms of its economy, is not doing too bad. It's just the fact that I've gone and pretty much destroyed the quality of our money that's holding us back. So if I can get that government budget down, I think we're okay. I think we're in. So let's have a quick look at our news. Volcanic power. Yes, they have harnessed advanced energy solutions. They are using geothermal. And then here in Wholesword, we have a healthcare spending, meeting with the family, and less smoke bill. Let's go for the less smoke bill. The Assembly passed an amendment to the tax bill of 1944 in order to increase tax revenue and reduce excessive amount of tobacco consumption in the general populace. Section 1 of TB 44, which had imposed a 10% tax on all tobacco packages, will be increased to 30% on all tobacco products sold in the country. Section 2 will protect local industries by giving them a full tax exemption. The products are destined for export to other countries. Sign. It's going to potentially hurt my economy a bit, but we need the government budget. That's probably going to be a bad news story. Time to smoke less. The administration has signed the less smoke bill aimed at increasing tax income for the government to reduce the high tobacco consumption. That's dangerous to personal health after researchers in the United Kingdom published an international paper. Smoked tax. The GNA passed an amendment to the tax bill of 1944 by increasing the tax by 20% and imposing a tax exemption on local tobacco products destined for transport. President Rain has signed the bill into law, which triggered a dozen complaints from working class citizens who smoke often. Health officials around the country have praised the discouragement of tobacco with the increased tax. And then that's our news. Welfare situations. Tobacco consumption reduced. Absolutely fantastic. And yes, our government budget has dropped down to a very healthy minus 15. And Fair Trade Commission established. Let's read that report. Fair Trade Commission has opened in Wholesale today and began coordinating with the Central Bank, National Business Council, and Ministry of Economy to get analysis of the competition issues and potential regulation legislation. Let's go for the healthcare spending. There is a significant budget left in the Ministry of Health that we can spend on several different programs in order to improve healthcare in Swordland further. Funds could be used to create a medical scholarship, build a state-of-the-art medical school, give free eye tests or dental care. Or we cannot spend it and get the government budget. You know what we're going to go for, folks, because we need government budget. That's +1 to the government budget once again. That gives us a whole, even healthier, minus 14. Now, we are not at, like, a good health state, should we say, but our health in our country has improved tenfold. So, I'm going to take that government spending back. Meeting with the family. Not a dinner, not a lunch, a meeting. As I stepped through the front door of our stately residence, a sense of tranquility washed over me. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, without Frank blasting his music from upstairs. I entered the grand study and let the warm glow of the room envelop me. Monica was sitting by the fireplace with a very old-looking book in her hands. Sit in the armchair next to hers. Oh, I didn't realize you were home. Is everything really going well at work? Especially after everything that happened with Peter. I wish it had all gone differently. I understand, but honestly, maybe it was for the best. All for the best in the end. Thanks to you, I was just about the only woman at university he didn't go after. But I saw the way he was and how he continued to be. The truth is, that man has always been a bad influence on you. And I don't think he should be forgiven after what he did. He wasn't forgiven by me or anyone else. I know. She sighed. I don't know, Anton. All of this seems to have put you under a massive amount of stress. I've also seen that more and more protests have been popping up around the country lately. I'm worried that things may get out of hand. It concerns me as well, but I'll take all the necessary steps, don't you worry. I'm sure you can handle it, but I think you need a break, Anton. Maybe we can make some time for a little getaway. We can have a weekend retreat out in the countryside. What do you think? That actually sounds marvelous. Great. She grinned. Just then, we heard the patter of small feet approaching the study. Diana appeared by the door with a piece of folded paper clutched in her hands. Mama, Papa, my school report came in. Monica and I immediately turned our attention to her, our curiosity peaked. Wait for her to continue. Diana unfolded the paper and gave it to me. I was so close to the top of the class. I heard a mix of pride and disappointment in her voice. Yeah, I can't scroll down. Oh, there we go. Oh my, we've got a genius in the house. Watch out, world. Holsol's #2 student is on the loose. Diana chuckled. You did great, darling. We're so proud of you. She knelt down and gathered Diana into her arms. I know, but I still feel kind of bad. I'm sure I would have been at the top if I'd done better in handicrafts, but those classes are so boring. And then there's that stupid blonde boy, Marcus. He never even studies, but the teachers always give him higher grades than everyone else. Don't call him stupid, baby. Who is this Marcus? I told you about him, Mummy. Marcus Clavin. The one who can't even do basic math, remember? Did you just say Clavin? Yes, that's his last name. Interesting. Do you know him? Actually, I may know his father. His father came to the school a couple of times and shouted at the teachers. Are you serious, sweetie? Why wouldn't I be? Isn't that the one who challenged you for the USP candidacy, Anton? Why is your party still filled with men like this? Yes, that's him, all right. Great. Anyway, are you hungry? I didn't cook today, but the chef prepared a wonderful Rizian meal for us. Yes! Rizian being the kingdom of Rizia. Interesting. Great, I'm starving. Me too, let's eat. And we have... Okay, no news, no points, no nothing, just something going down here in Suzerain. Support Ashraf anniversary. Attend to support. We will not show fear. We will attend it just as we should. Still no new stories. So, solidarity for Watani Ashraf's anniversary. On our way to Inner Suzerain, we stopped to meet with the local police chief, Ionis Visser, to discuss how the abolishment of the zone was faring for the locals. The city had been of particular importance to the Bludish people ever since the Ism incident, and the death of Watani Ashraf over 2 decades ago. Today we were here to commemorate the anniversary of those events. The ceremonies were to be held in the aptly named Ism Square, several blocks away from Lake Sol and the sunken ruins of the village of Ism. We entered the historic center in the presidential Cadilla. The streets were littered with broken glass and the walls defaced with graffiti. I sensed a heavy regional police presence. Our convoy could barely fit through the narrow streets, disrupting local traffic and creating noisy chaos in the usual tranquil city. Pedestrians stared at us with concern as we and our security forces drove towards the square. I must say, this was a good decision, sir. This will help ease tensions. That was my intention all along. As expected. We are almost there. I can hear the crowd. I heard the chants and shouting from outside. Lucian leaned closer to the window, listening to their voices. They are telling us to go back where we came from. A large crowd had assembled in the square. There were probably at least 10,000 people. Most of them were yelling insults and obscenities at me. As our convoy slowed down, a young Bludish man ran in front of our vehicle and spat on my window. Do not do anything. Our vehicle came to a stop. My driver exited the vehicle and opened the door for me. The crowd before me had signs in their hands protesting my decision to centralize Bergia. We were greeted by Mansoon Lek. He wore a coat over his suit, which was marked with the red and turquoise stripes of the Bludish movement's flag. He moved forward to greet us. Welcome to Suzerain, Mr. President. shake his hand. Mr. Leck. Mr. Glad, welcome. Shall we move on to the sanctuary then? Let's go. We made our way to the Suzerain sanctuary, which stood at the end of the square. A much smaller replica of the Arch sanctuary in Dea. The ancient building had a mystical aura emanating from its blackened walls. We entered the building through the ornamented large metal gates. As we walked, the noise of the crowd faded out. Everyone fell silent for the ceremony. Thousands of candles were burning inside the sanctuary, one for each person that died in Ism. The red candle in the center was for Watani Ashraf. Mansoom gestured towards the candles. Pick up a candle. He picked up the candle for Ashraf and started walking out. Many others followed suit, including us. The atmosphere outside had completely changed. Not a single noise came from the crowd. We slowly walked towards Ashraf's grave. On the way, hundreds of people joined us. Someone from the crowd shouted at me, breaking the silence. Don't mock the dead, you racist dog. You are defiling that candle in your hands. Keep walking. When we arrived, he pointed at the huge standing torch above the grave. Light the torch together with Mansoom. I turned around and realized the sheer amount of people who were following us. They were all looking at me, waiting to hear what I would say. Free people of Bludia. Who tragically lost their lives in Izam. I condemn the events that led to the loss of these lives. Who only wanted to protect their land. Despite attempts to divide us, our people will stand as one. We are sword, we are blood, we are all united under one flag. I share your hatred and anger, I feel it too. I assure you, like a red-hot iron, it takes a long time for it to cool, but I look at the lost lives and think, what would they want? What would they want? An old man from the crowd yelled, "Revenge!" To what end? We need to break this vicious cycle of violence and vengeance for a better future. Let me tell you one thing, I dream of a truly united Swordland, a country where blood or sword does not matter. We are all the same before God. Remember the words, love thy brothers and thy sisters. We must always stay together in the face of adversity against all odds. Now, they are very religious people. We are all the same before God. I feel responsible and ashamed for the actions of my predecessors. Most of all, I feel the desperation to remove this black mark from our history. Let this be a testament to our unity for future generations. Let us stand as blood and sword. Let us stand together as blood and sword. I need help from each and every one of you to make this country a better place for everyone. The responsibility falls on all of our shoulders because we don't have anyone but each other. Morning will come. There was no reaction from the crowd, only silence. One man broke the silence and shouted, "Do not listen to murderers," and threw a tomato. It hit the ground right in front of me. You cannot claim that you support us after trying to kill our language. There was a moment of complete silence and the whole crowd erupted. Yushin looked at me worriedly. People started coming closer and closer to us, chanting, "Yolak Bluderat." Yushin grabbed my shoulder. "We must leave now." With only our personal guards protecting us against a crowd of thousands, we started making our way back to the cars, hastily. The convoy started driving away as soon as we were seated. The windows of the vehicles were completely covered with rotten vegetables, eggs, and splatters of paint by the time we finally left the city. Well, turns out they don't like us too much. Turns out they don't like us much at all. Urzakan kicks out the president. President Rain has been kicked out by the people of Suzerain during the Ashraf anniversary. Since the beginning, his entire visit was clearly a sham to increase his public opinion polls, and the good people of Suzerain acted on it. Unfortunately, a few citizens were injured during the stampede. Administration has not yet made any comments on the incident. Well, yes. Oh, where are we? We're down here. We're back in the capital. Briefing on the current political situation. I walked to the White Room with a cup of coffee in my hand. My vice president had scheduled a meeting on the current political situation. I opened the door and entered the room. Lucian immediately stood up. Good morning, sir. Good morning. I wanted to provide you with some quick updates on the current political situation. He pulled out a few documents from a briefcase and laid them on the table. Mr. Hall has reported to me that he has almost finished drafting his new plan for the economy. He said he wanted to solidify a plan before it is presented to you. We will schedule a meeting soon to go over our options. He has never failed us before. Mr. Hall is exceptionally skilled. I'm sure he will deliver as well. He closed the folder and put away the documents. Moving on. Next, it's time to talk about our election prospects. Lucian took out a new set of documents. I caught a glimpse of colourful charts and graphs. I've just received the results of a voter poll commissioned by Peter Vecton shortly before his departure. To put it in plain language, it's not promising. Bad, even. The USP stands to lose up to 20% of the vote compared to 1953. Do we still have a chance? We still have a year to gain more votes, but we've got to think strategically. Fortunately, our new vice president also happens to be an excellent strategist. A horrible drinking buddy, though. Alcohol dulls my reflexes. You consider giving it up yourself. Lucian shuffled some pages around. Looking at the demographics of the voters polled, our support among Conservatives has plummeted. We can no longer count on their vote at all. The Liberal base appears divided, but you do have a considerable number of supporters there. For better or worse, you certainly aren't popular with nationalists. If you ever had any support from socialists, you've completely lost it now. Unsurprisingly, none of the British poll respondents said they were planning on voting for you. Lastly, we can't expect votes from centrists and unaffiliated voters unless we do something to win them over. Wow. So, Conservatives? No. Liberal base? Maybe. Nationalists? Hell no. Socialists? Hell no. Blue dish? Hell no. Centrists? Hell no. So what do you suggest? And bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Mr. President. This may sound like a common sense, but a convincing enough campaign can succeed where policies fail. Even if you've opted not to focus on your campaign at the moment, I'd still advise you to seize every chance for exposure that you can. I'll take that into account. Good. On another note, there is a not insignificant portion of undecided voters who don't care who occupies the Maroon Palace as long as the economy is running smoothly. Propping up the economy just ahead of the election is a surefire way to win them over. It's all on Simon then. Partly, yes. Our country seems to be stable so far, but we should avoid further crisis if we want to come out of this term strong. There's one last thing you should know about. He looked over the door to make sure it was closed. I have a reason to suspect that Lilius Graf will attempt to challenge you for USB leadership. Got it. How do you know? I've merely been keeping my ear to the ground as always. At any rate, if my suspicions are true, you will need as many allies within the party as possible. Please keep this close to your chest, sir. You know how much power Miss Graf wields in these halls. I will. Thank you for telling me. Of course, sir. That was everything on my end. Excellent. Good work. I left the room to attend to my next meeting. Wow, 6 pieces of news. And a few reports. During the protest that started in Mona, a gunman has opened fire randomly on the crowd that gathered with KA-74. The attacker was killed on the spot. The death toll is currently at 54 and increasing. The attacker was found to be hiding his weapon under a bagel stand. Wow. Protest turned violent in Benfey after a man was killed by the security forces for carrying a picket sign with a flashing electrical device on it on the suspicion of a bomb. Upon inspection, it was found to be a simple flashing light. After the incident, protesters surrounded the police and 6 policemen were injured. In subsequent events, the police were showered with rocks and tear gas was deployed. The situation is escalating. Okay, protests are back. The police were deployed to Narbal yesterday night in order to suppress the increase in violent protests. During a confrontation with the crowd, 6 members of the force were killed in a knife attack and 14 members of the force were injured. The attackers, the group of 3 teenagers, ran away. A citywide manhunt is underway. A group of 3 teenagers killed 6 members of the force and injured 14. We need to hire these guys as special forces is what we need to do. Ministry of Health Pascal Bonoli has submitted a heartening report. It states that the polio disease is controlled inside of the Bergia region. He stated that we had flattened the curve of infection within the Bergia region, and with a mandatory vaccine, it will be hard for the disease to spread into other regions within the country. Okay, and so let's have a look at my news. Government-imposed mandatory vaccine policy. The administration imposed that everyone in the country has to be vaccinated against polio disease. The disease barely claimed more or less than 1,000 people in Bergia. Why is it necessary for the whole country to spend our hard-earned ren for something that is nowhere near us? 13 dead in Morna attack. Bomb threat in Benfey protests. Narbel bloodbath. The president's decisive action stops polio in its track. Wow, the radicals being nice to me for once. Winds of change at Capitol Park. We had enough. It's been 2 days since we gathered together in the Capitol Park to demand answers from the government. We will stay here 2 years if need be. Even in a peaceful rally like this, the extreme police presence is a testament to the administration's views on exercising our democratic rights. If we don't protect our rights, then no one will. Ride the winds of change and come to Capitol Park. What are your demands? Protests at Capitol Park. Group of individuals associated with the Labour Union of Swordsland have started a protest in Capitol Park. So far, the rally was largely peaceful. However, we have detected a possibility that this protest group might be infiltrated by vandals. The area has been cordoned off in case the protests turn violent. Okay, briefing on the increasing unrest. Yeah, we seem to be having a problem here. She was frowning intensely. She didn't talk at first, just fixed me with a steady gaze. When she did speak up, it was in strained tones. Mr. President, we have a problem. Go on. This just came in. Here, take a look. I took the document from her hands and started reading it. The report was titled Protests in Major Cities. I looked up immediately after reading the title. Lilius gave a grim nod of confirmation. Protests have been erupting all over Swordsland. They are protesting you, Mr. President. They are asking for your resignation. I can't say this is unexpected. What is unexpected, however, is the sheer size of the protests and the level of violence. Several people have been killed already. Swordsland hasn't seen this much unrest since the death of Bernard Circus. We can't let the tensions rise to those levels again. We are on it. Karl Greiser is on his way here right now. He will tell us what he knows so far. Just then, there was a loud knock on the door. Karl came in without waiting for an answer. He was clearly out of breath. Ah, there he is. He saluted me. Status report. Mr. President, I'm so sorry for being late. Karl, I already informed the President of the situation. Do you have any updates? As you know, protests have been organized in major cities like Holsword, Lacavan, and Dea, and many more. Thankfully, the demonstrations have been successfully suppressed for the time being. Although I do believe we would have had an easier time dealing with them if we had additional riot gear. 2 civilians and 2 policemen were killed due to a firebomb thrown by the protesters. Aside from that small incident, the situation is mostly under control. We currently have 27 protesters in custody. Among the detainees, we have found Red Youth members and BFF members. The main rhetoric they all share is that they are demanding the president's resignation. Then we should at least hear what they have to say. I would refrain from giving them too much agency. What does the protester profile look like? We have investigated the various groups involved in the protest and compiled a list of their complaints. I will go through it. The majority of the protests are about the state of the economy. There are some that are protesting against the full nationalization of Heart of Swordsland. The language unification bill led to protests, particularly in the Bergia region. Thanks to the media, we are under fire for showing support at Ashraf anniversary. In addition, there are many provocateurs who are not tied to any specific organization or cause. We need to take action, Mr. President, immediately. If the protests get even more violent than they already are, we are risking civil war. Your orders, Mr. President. I'll listen to their demands. As you command, Mr. President. Can't say I condone this. The people must respect the laws of the land. What you are doing right now is giving in to anarchists. If you'll excuse us, Mr. President, we have work to do. Good luck. Lilius hurriedly left the room. Karl bowed to me. Mr. President. He followed after her. Well, that was dramatic. That's all I can say. There are protests widespread, and they are everywhere. Situations. Nationwide revolt. So places like Holsword, we now have widespread protests. I think there's a few of these. So over here, I'm going to guess Lacavan. We have widespread protests. So yeah, things could be better. Expansion program presents several options to improve industrial capacity. A nationwide revolt driven by low public opinion and political discontent severely undermines things. I would love for this to come in. If this could get me some income, which would maybe help prop up the economy a bit. Nationwide revolt erupted across the country, fueled by low public opinion and growing discontent with the government's handling of the nation. As the unrest intensifies, it led to a significant decrease in stability, with violent clashes between protesters and security forces threatening to spiral into full-blown chaos. Stability will be recovered. I don't know if that didn't seem to do anything. Industrial expansion. Mr. Hull and Manga have prepared a massive industrial expansion plan that could support several key industries in the country through state investments. Swordsland could become much more competitive and a hub for new industries with this initiative. Yeah, I don't have the government budget, so unfortunately not. Oh, my growth is now actually negative again. That's probably fueled by all these protests. Security Act. In response to the heightened need for security due to the ongoing social unrest, the Grand National Assembly presents the Security Act to fortify public measures. Section 1 of the SA grants security forces the discretion to use force as deemed necessary to uphold law and order. This provision is designed to enable quick and decisive responses in situations where public safety is at risk. Section 2 of the SA authorizes suspicion-based arrests and confiscations without the prerequisite of a warrant. This measure seeks to expedite law enforcement's response to potential threats, thereby enhancing overall security. Section 3 of the SA allows security forces to exercise their authority beyond standard legal limits if such action is deemed essential for maintaining state security and protecting the general public. This clause reinforces the commitment to safeguarding national security and upholding public safety in the face of increasing unrest. Veto. I will not turn this into a police state. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's hit continue and potentially watch the country burn. Checkmate. Chapter 4 is here. And so let's see what we have. We have 2 news stories. FC Anarchy wins Swedish National League. Well, that's at least a nice one. Hegel would take all the necessary steps. In a televised address, Chancellor Emmerich Hegel claimed intensive fighting was taking place between Agnolia forces and the locals of Helgeland, resulting in the massacres of ethnic Belgs living on the island. He portrayed the conflict as a national struggle and compared it to the independence wars of the former colonies in Riga. Hegel said Vauxland, as the guarantor of Helgeland security, would take all necessary steps to prevent mass atrocities committed against the islanders. Okay, and we don't seem to have any reports. End of the day at home. Well, this should be quite a nice one. It was raining as Serge dropped me off at home after yet another grueling day of work. A guard held an umbrella over my head as I walked from the car to my front door. Inside, the house was completely dark. I flipped on the light in the kitchen to find a note from Monica. Ciara had called her in for a last-minute woman's right meeting. She dropped Diana off at friends and left me some food for reheating. I took the pot out of the fridge. It was filled with an unidentified greyish-looking stew. Evidently, Monica's excellent cooking had been the first casualty of her political career. Let's reheat the stew. While it was heating up, I went to the living room to fix myself a drink. Suddenly the phone rang. I went back to the kitchen and answered it. Frank's voice was on the other end. Oh, I thought Mum would pick up. Wow, that's rude. Sorry, you're stuck with your old man. I didn't mean it that way. I just figured you'd be working. There was a long silence. I got that record you sent me. Not bad for old folks' music. Glad you liked it. How's Uncle Peter doing? I haven't heard from him since the press conference. It's so messed up what he did. You know, the military's worried about things escalating with Rumberg since you threw Livia in jail. They're moving more and more troops up near Mugwe. I'll do what I can to alleviate tensions. So you do care about me now that I'm out of the house. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm graduating from basic training soon. The commander says I could be the next Iosif Lancia. Sorry, you can't. You've got too much hair. Frank stifled a laugh. Honestly, I was so ticked off at you for sending me here, but I'm really starting to like it. Thank God for failure, right? You were never a failure. I suddenly became aware of a smoky smell coming from the kitchen. My dinner was burning. Good catching up with you, Frank. Yeah, okay, bye, Dad. We both hung up. I raced to the stove and turned off the burner. The bottom of the pot was charred, but part of the mystery stew was still salvageable. I ate alone by the flickering light of the television, wondering when Monica and Deanna would get home. Situation update. Wow, I just lost 3 government budget. There is no way we're recovering from that. We have a lot of situations that just happened. We have a lot of news. We have a big old hit on the overview. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, with the country slowly spiraling into absolute anarchy, it turns out maybe I did spend a little bit of my budget at the beginning, and I potentially overreached my abilities and my hopes and my dreams. And so on that, ladies and gentlemen, as per always, thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed it. And until we see you again in the great state of Swordland, I hope that you will stay safe, happy, and healthy.